Yes, we're talking about your experience today with going into the prison and working with these young women. And you told me that a lot of these young women's hearts were hardened because of their mothers weren't there. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and your experience with your mother?
Yeah, when I was 12 and 13, my mom was living down in the Bay Area, and we had a home up in Berry Creek, and I just stopped communicating with my mother. I stopped letting her know what was going on in me emotionally. I just shut her out. Like, I just felt like she didn't understand what I was going through, and in the midst of that, that's when I turned to drugs, and you know, slowly, you know, started confiding more into friends, started you know, hanging out with the wrong crowd, going to substance abuse, you know, with drinking and using drugs to fit in, because I didn't feel like I fit in at home anymore. I didn't understand all the emotions that were going on inside, and I just, instead of trying to communicate with my mom who wasn't there, you know, I just shut her out completely. And not to say that she wasn't there at all. She, you know, she would come up on the weekends, and you know, 12 and 13, I just started getting into a lot of trouble, being very angry, and you know, so I turned to drugs. First time I used crank was when I was 13 years old, and I had a drug, you know, that's when I started into my addiction, and you know, by the time I was 15, I had gotten into some trouble, ended up in juvenile hall for 39 days, and was good for a couple years after that. Still casually using drugs and drinking, and then, but by the time I had graduated high school, when I had turned 19, I was had gone to college for a little bit, and had some problems there. Ended up just dropping out, and became a daily meth user. And from the time I was 19 to the time I was 26. You know, I was just using crank, and I didn't know how to get out of that lifestyle, and tried to get sober by myself. My husband and I, we ended up being in a couple raids, went to jail a couple times for a couple weeks, tried staying clean, and right when I would get out, I would start using again. And then, but by the time I was 26, my husband and I, we were on the run, and we had bounty hunters looking for us, and I was living out on the river, couldn't contact my family anymore. And we ended up coming down to a town, and we were arrested and went to jail, and I was there for 5.5 months. And you know, of course, I cried out to Jesus right away.
Right. So that's when you started crying out to Jesus, and is that when you gave yourself to the Lord?
Yeah.
And everything, your life just started doing a 360 change.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about your walk with Christ after you left the drugs and things.
Well, while I was in jail, people would come in there and minister to me. And I said, Lord, if you can do that for them, would you do that for me too? And after I got out of jail, I went to Jordan Crossing, and you know, started my discipleship there, and I was there for about 6 months. I went into leadership, and you know, I just have loved prisoners, and my husband was a prisoner himself. I wasn't allowed any visitation with him, and I just started pursuing visits with him, and started just loving on the prisoners, and seeing how the church supported my husband, and they didn't even know him and have a relationship with him, and they just started loving him from where he was at. And you know, it just has impressed on me to love the prisoners as well. And
wow. So what would you say to the young girls that are dealing with the same thing that you were dealing with your mother not being there, going through the things with drugs, and then going to jail? What words will you have for them to get them right on the right path like you did?
Well, I think the big problem of mine was communication. You know, you have to communicate with your parents, and I didn't communicate, and you know, that was my fault. You know, that was something that I didn't, you know, if you have questions for your parents, you should talk to your parents, and they love you like no one's going to love you, and trust your parents.
Now, you said you used drugs on and off, and what actually brought you back to using drugs over and over again? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, just the euphoria that it brings, the fake confidence that it would give you, the fitting in, and it's just all it is it's a fake. It's just a fake feeling,
An illusion.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. It's an illusion that it just keeps sucking you in, and then you think that you're having fun while you're doing it, and you think that you're living this lifestyle that you want to live, and all of a sudden it becomes this prison that you don't know how to get out of. Mm-hmm. It's complete deception.
How, when you were doing that, did you have to do a lot of things to support this habit? Did you?
Well, the sad thing of it was that from where I was from, I knew cooks. Mm-hmm. And my boyfriend, who became my husband, actually was a cook as well. So, as far as doing things for it, I stayed in a relationship that, he was beating on me, he was seeing other people, so as far as that, I stayed, so yeah, I did that for...
So that was like a comfort level that you were at, that you were in when you were using these drugs and the abuse and things like that. So,
yeah, you just accepted it.
Right.
It's just part of the lifestyle. You just accepted it. And mm-hmm. Now today, the confidence that Jesus has given me today, I would never put up with that. I would never put up with somebody hitting on me. I would never put up with somebody disrespecting me or being unfaithful to me. And if I just feel so strong about that, like if I felt disrespected in that way, I just,
right.
That's not who I am anymore, and I wouldn't accept that.
Right. For those who want to actually get out of that lifestyle, the drugs and the abuse, what words or what resources would you have for them? How can they get out of it like you did?
Well, I would say to, definitely cry out to Jesus. Jesus is your way out. I'm thinking of a...
Well, you said Jesus, and that's a good answer, because a lot of people go through rehab programs over and over, and they find themselves back in the same place again. So you feel that Jesus is the answer to all things, and it actually oversees and overweighs everything else.
Yeah, you need Jesus, but you need to be discipled in the things of the Lord. That's what you need.
Amen.
You need to be discipled in the things of the Lord. You need to have a pastor. You need to be accountable. You need to stop doing things your way and start doing them Yahweh.
Yes. And I know it was kind of hard. It wasn't overnight. It was steps that you had to do. Baby, it's a process. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very important. Yeah. Well, thank you again. We thank you very much for your testimony and the words that you have for the young ladies out there. And we welcome you again when you have some more testimonies and how you've helped other young women come to this point. Again, we're with ThugExposed.Org. Thank you very much.
Father, we just thank you so much. There's no name above your name. I wouldn't serve any other name. Yeshua Mashiach.
There's power in the name. There's victory in the name. There's healing in the name.
Healing.
Anointing in the name.
Yes.
There is peace in the name. If you would speak aloud the name, that every knee shall bow before.
Every knee.
Every tongue proclaim. There's power in the name.
Power.
There's victory in the name. There's healing in the
So
name.
much healing.
Anointing in the name.
Yes.
There's peace in the name.
Peace.
If you would speak aloud the name, every knee shall bow.
Every knee.
And every tongue
bless your name.
Yeshua,
Yeshua, we bless your name.